This is from Rupert Rivet, please. Rupert Rivet.
Will the steps the Labour Party are going to make on bonuses stop bankers paying themselves outrageous amounts?
The steps announced by the Labour Party on bonuses, will it stop bankers paying themselves outrageous amounts? Dambisa Moyo worked in Goldman Sachs for 8 years, knows the banking industry. I don't know whether you got bonuses from them or not, but what's your answer?
My personal view is I don't think that the government should be legislating wages. I think that we have enough issues on their plate right now, and I think that ultimately what would have been a preferable approach to addressing the concerns about bonuses is to really act as a shareholder, and I think it's fine for government actually to dictate wages where they do act as a shareholder. I think in the cases where banks are not owned by the government in any way, I see no reason why governments need to step in there. And the concern for me is where does it stop? Does the government then start to legislate footballer salaries? I mean, clearly, I would say that I'm quite concerned that footballers are paid so much more than nurses, and yet we could argue that there's a much greater benefit societally to have nurses in the NHS. And yet, at the same time, our societies are quite happy to pillory and to attack bankers, but are much less enthusiastic about going after the footballers. And I just think that we don't need government to start legislating on salaries, particularly when they are not a shareholder in a particular bank.
So you're saying that you're saying it's perfectly right for them where we, the taxpayers, are big shareholders.
Absolutely.
Or have guaranteed their position.
Absolutely.
To say, and by the way, you won't pay these bonuses.
That's right. I think that's absolutely right.
But the legislation appears to be covering all banks. That's the plan, as far as I understand it.
That's right. I think that when it becomes too broad, it's incredibly difficult to manage anyway. One would hope that salaries are going to be managed by the shareholders. Shareholders should be the ones saying, well, actually, I think these are excessive bonuses. Why are you affecting the bottom line by giving out these big salaries? I just don't think that this should be the responsibility of the government to start legislating wages in the
Does it matter how much people get at the tops of banks?
Well, again, I think that that's something we can sit and debate. I mean, I would like to have been paid a lot more money than I get paid, but the reality is it's up to the shareholders to decide what they think is reasonable and what is adequate.
Theresa May.
I think we have to ask what the key issue around bankers' bonuses is. And I think the main concern about the size of bankers' bonuses was that they were being paid in a way which encouraged risky behaviour by those bankers, which in itself then helped to lead to some of the decisions that led to the problems of the financial crisis that we've been through. And that's why we would actually approach this by looking at giving powers. I mean, we would change the regulation of banks, and the Bank of England would have power in regulating banks, and a power to require banks that were seen to be paying bonuses that would encourage risky behaviour to hold more capital and actually put the brakes on it through that particular way. Although we have said in the past that certainly for the nationalised banks, I think it is right to say that there should be a restriction in the cash bonuses that are paid. And we said some time ago that cash bonuses in the nationalised banks shouldn't be more than a couple of £1,000s.
So you're shoulder to shoulder with Alistair Darling on this?
Well, we believe something needs to be done, as I say, because of the issue of the risky business. I don't know what the legislation is going to say in detail, and I think the key thing is to be getting at that aspect of the payment of bonuses which helped to lead to the sort of decisions that led to the financial crisis that we had.
Yeah, the one here.
Why do you think so many people throughout the country just aren't interested in politics anymore?
No, well, that's a slightly different question from the banking. We might talk about that a bit later on, but I hope it's not because we're discussing it like this here. Man up at the top there. Come to you later. The man up at the top.
I've got no objection to the traders getting huge bonuses for generating profit. I mean, it drives the economy quite a way. But it's the CEOs who get massive bonuses for taking companies down and failing. They're the ones that should go getting legislated against, not the traders.
Okay. Charles Kennedy.
Look, for me, I think what all this is about, and this is irrespective of which party forms the government of the country at any given time, there is something fundamentally wrong, and in fact, the lady's question at the front is not that divorced from it, about why aren't people more interested in politics, or put it another way, why are people turned off by the political process? There's something fundamentally wrong with a financial and economic crisis globally, of which our country is inescapably part, in which we are seeing, whatever the rhetoric this week here in Brighton, The public sector in this country is going to take a big hit. It is already, in terms of unemployment, talk of wage freezes and so on, and yet people at the other end of the income spectrum appear still to be getting away with blue dam murder at the expense of the public purse in terms of the obscene amounts of self-congratulatory bonuses that they can pay themselves. That cannot be right in a balanced society. Cannot be. And I do not take confidence from the comments of the Chancellor, Alistair Darling, after his meeting with some of the banking chiefs over the last day or two. I don't think that the government, frankly, are going to achieve anything very much. Robert Peston, the BBC's own guru in these matters, has said nothing much is going to affect their Christmas bonuses this year in terms of whatever is legislated for or not. It's been done in other European countries. I can't see if the political will is there and you want to take the public sector with you in this country, it can't be done in the House of Commons as well.
Okay. Ben Bradshaw.
Well, I think the important thing to note is that the 5 major banks of this country have themselves agreed to what the G20 agreed in the United States last week. I think that's a very welcome move. They're the first banks in the world to do so. That was an historic agreement. Everybody before the G20 thought there was going to be this great battle between America and Britain on the one side and France and Germany on the other. Actually, there was an agreement, and I agree with Theresa on this. I think that there are things that we need to do. There was too much unacceptable risk-taking. There was too much reward for failure. I don't think anyone is against rewarding people who work hard, make a profit, run a successful business, even if that's a bank. But I think what people took exception to was the people themselves not understanding what they were getting into, taking risks with other people's money, and it's the ordinary people in this country, as Charlie says, who are suffering as a result.
Which is this, what is this small print you've been reading?
No, it's just if you read...
I mean, you said, when he said the G20 agreed this and the banks have agreed, you said read the small print.
Well, in due course, read the small print as to the way in which we know the bankers at the top end. I'm not talking about everybody who works in banks, incidentally. A lot of them are very low paid, as we know. But the people at the board level and at that chief executive level that the gentleman at the back was referring to, they have squads of experts at their disposal because of their disposable income to find ways around this to suit themselves, and I bet you they will.
David Starkey.
Oh dear, why don't we take politics seriously? Listen to the politicians. None of them has mentioned the fact that the politicians were in total cahoots with the bank, including Gordon Brown, particularly Gordon Brown. In 2007, Gordon Brown at the Mansion House dinner praised the City of London as this great institution which had been freed by him to do all these wonderful things. Why? Because it was the devil's compact. The city produced the money that he threw away on the public services without thought, without reform, without structure. He is to blame as much as the bankers. I'd cut his wage too. Okay. But, sorry, David, just 1 second. I think Dambisa is absolutely right. The history of income policies is dreadful. Look back into our own history. It's an invariable catastrophe. This will be another. If you start penalising bankers, you kill the goose that lays the golden egg. They don't even go to America. They go to nice little places like Switzerland. Already the hedge funds are moving there. Watch suddenly the City of London go down like a large balloon. Watch London transport collapse.
But hang on a second. You were a moment ago, you were attacking Labour for allowing the city to let rip, and now you're saying it should be allowed to let rip.
Unfortunately, the government. Well, David, let me explain. The government again has entered into another compact. We decided to save the banks. We decided to throw good money after bad. We did exactly what Greenspan did after the dot-com boom. We're simply building up another bigger bubble that will burst. And this, of course, with the man who is so ignorant of economics, Gordon Brown, that he said that he'd abolished boom and bust. Anybody who does that fails a paper at O-level in economics.
Ben Bradshaw, the simple